Did you know that when you buy your puppy from a pet store, that dog likely came from a puppy mill? These puppy mills across the United States, they live in the shadows, but today we are going to turn a spotlight on this terrible, dark industry. Welcome to Humane Voices, the official podcast of Humane World for Animals. I'm Kelly alongside Chad. How are you, Chad?
What's up?
It's good to have you here. I'm excited about today. We have a guest that works tirelessly to warn the public about puppy mills and how you could inadvertently be getting your dog from a puppy mill. Our guest, she is a dogged, but not pun intended, advocate for dogs. It is Kathleen Summers. She is Director of Outreach and Research at the Stop Puppy Mills campaign at Humane World for Animals. Welcome, Kathleen, our expert.
Thank you.
It is great to have you with us. So let's get right into kind of the season we're in, something that happens annually. Every year, you and your team produce the Horrible 100 report. Tell us what that is.
Every year, we put out a report on 100 known puppy mills across the United States. These are puppy mills that we believe to be still active. They breed dogs as pets to sell to the pet trade. More than half of them in this year's report are USDA licensed, which means they can legally sell to pet stores across the United States. And they also sell often online or even on social media.
And how bad are the animals? I mean, that's kind of the thing, is the animal welfare concerns on these facilities, right? I mean, I'm sure you've seen the worst of the worst.
Yes. I mean, there are so many puppy mills that have had violations year after year, and even that have been in our report year after year, that are still licensed to legally sell through these puppy mill outlets.
And I noticed, Kathleen, and we're going to name names here, as you all regular listeners know, we name names. I saw that Petland is mentioned in the report. Remind us who Petland is and why are they mentioned in this report?
Sure. So Petland is the largest chain of pet stores across the United States that still sells puppy mill dogs. In fact, it's the only national chain in the United States that still sells puppies.
We found this year that 25% of the breeders in the report had sold puppies to Petland or were listed on Petland's website as one of their breeders.
So despite what they may say to potential buyers, they do buy from puppy mills, and people should be aware of that.
So in anticipation of this recording, Kathleen, I knew you'd be the person to talk to about this. I looked around on the Petland website, and so 25 puppy mills are mentioned in the Horrible 100 report that are tied to Petland. So,
Yes.
But looking at their website, you would never, ever figure that out at all. Like, there's obviously, they're good at hiding things, I guess it sounds like.
Yes, Petland and other pet stores are never going to tell a buyer, yes, we buy from puppy mills. They have some very pretty pictures on their website of some of the breeders that they buy from, as well as just saying all the right things about claiming that they know their breeders and that they buy only from high quality breeders. But we've found that in many cases that is not true at all.
Wow.
And Kathleen, we've had a colleague of yours, John Goodwin, on here before. And so, again, regular listeners, this will not be the first time you've heard us talk about the American Kennel Club. I want to touch on that, though. Talk a little bit about the American Kennel Club, and are they part of the solution? Are they part of the problem, Kathleen?
Well, the American Kennel Club could be part of the solution, but unfortunately, they're not. We did find approximately a third of the breeders in this year's report had advertised AKC puppies or advertised on the AKC's marketplace website. And, AKC frequently says that it inspects its breeders. In reality, it only inspects a very tiny percentage of their breeders, of their most high volume breeders. But the main problem with AKC is that they frequently lobby against humane laws that would improve the conditions for these dogs. So it's very sad that a lot of people may even have the impression that the American Kennel Club is an animal welfare organization, and it absolutely is not. It makes money primarily from registering puppies. So they have a financial incentive to support these large-scale breeders that we call puppy mills.
And I want to put a fine point on this, Kathleen. When you said that they will often oppose us on laws we're trying to do, kind of, good, humane laws, Is money the reason they would oppose that? I mean, what is the reason they would actively
Yes.
work against good laws for dogs?
That's basically it. The AKC wants large numbers of dogs to be registered with them. Couple, it may have been more than a dozen years ago, some breeders got together and opposed AKC and started their own registries because AKC had started inspecting some dog breeders and supporting some higher standards for dogs. AKC was, instead of saying, we're going to just be the gold standard, and if bad breeders want to stop registering with us, that's fine with us. Instead of doing that, unfortunately, AKC got spooked and said, we don't want to scare away high volume breeders that register a lot of dogs with us and provide us with a lot of income. So they started supporting those puppy mills by opposing laws. And many of the laws that AKC is opposing are very basic laws that just say, that a breeder should be inspected for humane care once a year.
Oh, so these are
Things like
crazy,
this.
asking for just really ridiculous things like, hey,
Yes.
could you inspect where the dogs are?
Could you maybe let your dogs run in an open area, open fenced area a little bit so they can get some exercise once a day? Things, yes, outrageous things.
And the AKC is saying, no, we don't want this in law.
They actively encourage their supporters to oppose these laws, to write to their lawmakers and oppose these laws.
It always seems like when some company is chasing profits, the first thing to go is animal welfare concerns, right? I mean, that's exactly what happens. Whether it's Petland or AKC, it seems like that's happening. Is that right?
That's the truth.
What about, so you do this Horrible 100 report. People, I assume it's, widely distributed. People get it. And so I'm curious about if you can talk to the impact it has. So people get this report. What impact, whether someone's on the list, that doesn't want to be on the list. I assume no one wants to be on any list that's called a Horrible 100. So what impact do you think it has? Do you know any impact from just, 2024, last year's report?
Sure. We actually had an impact this year related to a breeder who was in last year's report. It's called BR's Doberman, and it's in BR's Dobermans, and it's in Iowa. We reported last year that they had a number of concerning violations, and the local authorities did get a complaint about that facility. It was from a dog buyer, and they went to inspect it, but we found out that as they were doing their research on the facility, they found our report, and that was able to be used to get a warrant that they needed to enter the property. And when they did, they found, unfortunately, horrific conditions. 17 dogs were dead, and they were able to rescue about 59 living dogs. Now, unfortunately, that breeder still has a license, and things are still going through court. So, they will still be in our report this year because they haven't completely shut down. But 59 dogs are alive today because somebody was able to use our report to get onto the property.
Well, not just Kathleen, somebody, but it sounds like law enforcement in this instance used this Horrible 100 report.
Yes, and that's not the first time that's happened. So we're very grateful that they're doing their homework.
Yeah.
And it's not, I should say here that the report isn't just a collection of our opinions, but we have a link to an Airtable in that report. And the Airtable has all our supporting documents in it, which includes state inspection reports, USDA inspection reports, photographs, and other documents that may be available to prove where we got our information.
And I know we're gonna get to some positive things folks can do, but let's keep going with this negativity for a minute. You mentioned Iowa. What are the top? I think this will surprise some folks, and I have the feeling my state of residence is still on the list. What are the top 5 states in terms of having puppy mills, and the worst states?
Well, I would say in this report, the top 5 states, I'll tell you, although I want to preface it by saying that some states don't inspect puppy mills, so they may have very bad situations as well, and either haven't shared their information with us or don't inspect at all. But of the ones in our report, Missouri is the number 1 state for puppy mills in the report for the 13th year in a row.
13 years in a row. Good
13
Lord.
years in a row.
Show Me State needs to show themselves off this report and kind of take care of business there.
And that's followed by Ohio, Iowa, and Pennsylvania, and New York.
I'm going to do, if I may, Chad, I'm going to veer off for a quick second here. I reside in Ohio. It is a great state, home of the Ohio State University, but come on, Ohio, for my Buckeye listeners. I mean, this is how do we change this? I imagine no state wants to be on this list. Like what are some ways we can, change things?
Right. Well, definitely let your state officials know that you want them to continue cracking down on puppy mills, not just inspect. We do see in Ohio, for example, that they are inspecting puppy mills, but what we're not seeing is a lot of penalties for puppy mills that are found with pretty egregious violations. And that's what we think is the next step that's needed in Ohio and also in Missouri, as a matter of fact. Um, Pennsylvania is another high one on our list. I mentioned one that is possibly shutting down in Iowa. But Pennsylvania also recently shut down somebody that we were preparing to put in the report. So, some states are taking action, but we need them to do more.
And you mentioned this, you alluded to this a bit ago. There's information out there that you can't see, right? So this report, while it's important and it's going to have a huge impact, there's information that you don't have that can't be included in this. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Right. Well, some states have, I want to say, like, effectively refused to share information with us. And one of those states is Wisconsin. They do inspect puppy mills under their law, at least they allegedly do. But when we submit public records requests to Wisconsin, they have not been forthcoming in sharing those records in a timely enough manner to get anything recent in our report. So this year we do have some Wisconsin dealers in the report, basically because we were able to get information from USDA, but the state did not provide us anything in time for us to add them to the report. And this is really a problem for people in Wisconsin because their tax dollars are supposed to be funding this program that protects dogs. Who doesn't love dogs? Who doesn't want? It's a pretty good use of their tax dollars to have a program that makes sure dogs are safe and healthy. And that families are getting safe and healthy dogs. But is Wisconsin inspecting them? We don't know. They won't show us their records, even though they have a public records law.
Well, here's the thing, Kathleen. So when we talk about consumers, folks that see the website, see these cute dogs, everything looks on the up and up. So there is probably no one out there that would want to purchase an animal that came from a puppy mill. I mean, I think that is a truth. However, it happens all too often. So what are some things folks can look out for when they, what are maybe some things they think it's a reputable seller, but in fact it is not, and they are getting a dog from a puppy mill? Talk a little bit about that to folks out there maybe considering, getting a dog.
Right. Well, puppy mills hide behind pretty websites, clean pet store, at least pet stores that are clean in the front area, and beautiful social media ads. So you can't, don't be sucked in by an ad or by a storefront. It's very important to go to the breeder in person and ask very specific questions. If a breeder won't let you see where the puppy was born and raised, well, that's a massive red flag. Another thing to ask a breeder is for veterinary records on the dogs. And they should be actual veterinary records, not just a list of the shots that the breeder gave themselves, because you don't know if that, they got the shots at the right time or if the medications were expired or not. You want records on veterinary letterhead, and then you want to be able to hopefully contact that veterinarian and say, hey, is this somebody who takes good care of their dogs? Are you seeing other puppies that they produce that are happy and healthy? And just make sure when you visit this breeder also that you don't see rows of cages filled with dogs. You want to make sure that anybody's breeding dogs are living the way you would want your dog to live. Happy, healthy, loved, usually in the house, if it's a house dog type breed, or at least in very spacious, clean enclosures where and in small in numbers so that somebody's able to give them all the care and attention they need.
Sounds like do a lot of due diligence, ask questions, see the facility. But I want to mention too that I think we all are aware there continues to be, I believe, a crisis in shelters. So there's a lot of dogs available for adoption. And Kathleen, if you have a certain breed dog you want, are there rescues or places where folks can go and visit the facility and, go to a nonprofit and get a certain breed?
Absolutely. And of course, as you mentioned, you want to check out a rescue too. Make sure it really is a rescue. They should not be sending you a dog sight unseen either. Neither a breeder nor a rescue should be shipping you a dog on a truck. But yes, there are the overpopulation crisis right now with dogs in shelters is shocking and very upsetting. The only good thing about it is I can say if you are looking for a dog, there is a better variety now than there has been in many years. Many shelters that haven't had puppies readily available for some time now have, unfortunately, a lot of puppies available that need homes, as well as some dogs of different breeds that aren't always easy to find in shelters. So we do encourage everybody to go to a shelter anytime they want the dog, but especially now is a good time to find a variety of dogs available.
So what can people do? I think your team often has actions that an audience can take. Can you talk about some of those?
Definitely. Well, one thing that people can do is reach out to their lawmakers, and I'll mention a couple of bills in a moment. But in addition to these bills, I did want to say that we do have really grave concerns about some of the budget cuts in the federal government and specifically staff cuts that are affecting federal agencies right now. There's a lot of concern that inspectors will be potentially cut from USDA and that situations will get a lot worse for these dogs if there aren't enough inspectors to visit them and check on their health and welfare. So definitely support the bills I'm about to mention, but write to any of your state or federal lawmakers and say, hey, I'm very concerned that we continue to fund inspection programs, especially at the federal level, and that we continue to employ inspectors to visit animal facilities and make sure that animals are treated well. Now, the two laws you can mention specifically are the Puppy Protection Act, the Federal Puppy Protection Act. We have a link on our website where you can find your lawmakers and contact them to support the Puppy Protection Act, and that will require better standards at USDA licensed breeders. And there's also the Better Care for Animals Act, and that will make it easier for the Department of Justice to work with the USDA to deal with problematic facilities, not just breeders, but also dog breeders that are failing to meet their requirements for decent animal care, and may basically make it easier for Department of Justice to help shut down bad puppy mills.
And Kathleen, I'll say anybody who wants to get involved and take some actions here to help these dogs who are stuck in puppy mills, you can just go to humaneworld.org/puppy mills, and that will take you, and you've got a bunch of actions there that people can take and learn a lot more about this industry. So
Yes,
humaneworld.org/puppy mills.
Yeah, and I think, this, and this, Kathleen, as well as anyone, I think this issue continues to be on the march and people are really engaged in it. But we should, always continue to remind folks that we know nobody wants to get a dog from puppy mills, but so many people just didn't know. And so there's lots of information, and this report that you're doing, I think, is phenomenal because not only is it getting information out there to consumers, but also to law enforcement, as the case in Iowa you highlighted. They were able to get something done because of it. So it's a testament to the work you're doing and the research and the team behind this. But I know you're always looking for an army of advocates to be a part of the Stop Puppy Mills campaign. So listeners, by all means, check out that website. And Kathleen, we just want to thank you for being with us today and for this information and the work you're doing to shut down puppy mills. Thanks so much for being our guest. And until next time, folks, thanks.
Thanks for having me.